Hey, it's Ross from RossLukeman.com. Today I want to talk to you about the Cerbo GX from Victron Energy. This is their latest monitoring and control device. What this is going to allow you to do is network your entire electrical system for your van or RV and bring in things like solar, shore power, alternator, your battery monitor, as well as your water tanks. You're going to be able to network it all together and see what's going on one screen. And what this is going to do is it's going to help you eliminate separate monitors in your control center. So it's going to kind of declutter your control center so you don't have one for solar, one for battery, one for water. We're going to bring it all together in one screen. And then for things like shore power, you're going to be able to see where that power is going. Some of it's going to go into your battery, some of it's going to go directly to your appliances. You're going to be able to see a deeper look into things like shore power, deeper than you would have before without this control screen. So it's going to expand your monitoring capabilities while also kind of cleaning up your control center and making everything a little bit more compact and seamless. So I really enjoy these devices. We're also going to take a look at the optional touchscreen. And what they've done with the Cerbo GX is they've separated the screen from the brain of the operation, so to speak. If you look at the previous generation, we have the Color Control GX. Everything was built into the back of the screen, and what that meant was when you put this in your control center, all these communication wires had to be run from your electrical system 10 or 20 feet away through the wall. So you'd have quite a few wires that you had to get in the wall, and you want to make sure that you didn't forget any wires. So it was quite a feat to get it all up to your control center. But with the Cerbo GX, you just put this in your electrical system, make those connections from the other power components, and then you're just going to run the one cable up to the touchscreen to get all that data. Now, one of the major innovations that they've added with the Cerbo GX that the Color Control did not have built in is they've added a Bluetooth signal. And so what you can do, if you don't want the hardwired screen, you can omit that completely, pick up that Bluetooth signal on your smartphone or tablet via the Victron Connect app, and you can basically see everything that you would see and monitor on this control screen. So you don't have to have that. And by the way, as far as the price, this is about $515, and these two together are $515. So if you do eliminate the screen, it's actually a couple $100 less to get the Cerbo GX, and it's got a lot more capabilities than the Color Control. So Bluetooth is a major advancement. It's also got Wi-Fi built in now, so it'll pick up a Wi-Fi signal if there's one available. And what that is going to do is it's going to connect the Cerbo GX and allow it to upload your system data to the Victron remote portal. And you can basically log in anywhere in the world and see what your system is doing. So definitely a very cool feature. Previously, you had to get a additional module. It was a couple $100, plug that into the Color Control to get that capability, but it's now built into the Cerbo GX. So we've got the Bluetooth, we've got the Wi-Fi, we've got the separation of the brain from the screen, and then the fourth innovation that I really like is they now have native water tank monitoring. This is another thing where you had to buy a module for the Color Control, a couple $100, and it would allow you to monitor your water tanks. There is a certain type of tank monitor that this accepts, but if you use that tank monitor, it will natively upload your water tanks or fuel tanks, and there's a screen for the Cerbo GX. It's going to show your electrical system on one screen, and then you just pan over and it's going to show all your tanks there. Can be wastewater, gray water, fresh water, or a fuel tank. But it's got quite a lot of capabilities. So what I'd like to do, I'm not going to show you everything this could possibly do. It's quite a bit. What I really want to do in this video is install these into a basic system. We're going to connect shore power, solar power, a battery monitor, and a water tank. And I just want to demonstrate how cool this is and what it can do. We're also going to zoom in, and I want to show you some of the connections on the Cerbo GX as well as what came in the box with these two devices. But before we get into that, if you'd like additional help on your van's power system, I've got a great resource for you called the Ultimate Van Power Cheat Sheet. To grab your copy, all you have to do is go to rosslukeman.com/vanpower, or you can click the link below. This cheat sheet is going to have a discussion of the three major charging sources, so shore power, solar power, and alternator power. And they all have strengths and they all have weaknesses, but together they're going to give you a well-rounded power strategy. So whether you're at a campground or boondocking out in the desert, together they're going to make sure you have a robust charging source no matter where you find yourself out on the road. So there's a discussion on those 3 charging sources. There's also a discussion on different battery types and the strengths and weaknesses of those. And that's going to help you zero in on which battery type is going to be right for your situation. And then lastly, there is a really cool conceptual diagram that's going to show your entire electrical system from your charge source, such as your solar panel, all the way down to your end device, such as your phone charger. And it's going to show how everything is connected from the charge source all the way through your system. What are those connections to get to that end device, such as your microwave or phone charger? So a really neat diagram that I think is going to be really illuminating for you. If you'd like to get your free copy of the cheat sheet, all you have to do is go to rosslukeman.com/vanpower or click that link below. So with that, let's zoom in and take a closer look at these 2 devices. All right, so let's take a closer look at the Cerbo GX. We've got a bag of parts here. I'll go ahead and open this up. Basically going to have a 12-volt power cord that's going to plug in here. And we've got these little black plugs. The black plugs are going to plug into these inputs along the bottom for these relays, and then we have some various sensor inputs. So basically these are going to allow our sensor wires to plug in there. And what we've got is 4 water tank sensors, or excuse me, tank sensors. So those can be fuel tanks, water tanks. I saw one guy had a tank of beer. So whatever you want to monitor, you can do up to 4 tanks. And then next to that, we've got 4 temperature sensors. So you can monitor the inside temperature of your RV or van, the outside temperature, the engine bay, the refrigerator, whatever you want, up to 4 temperature sensors. And then we've got digital inputs. So basically, you can accept alarm signals or signals from external devices. So you'll see here with the 2 relays, this particular device can set off relays. You can program it to set these off under certain conditions and send signals out to external devices. But this device can also accept, here at Digital Inputs, it can accept signals, alarm signals and other signals from external devices as well. And as I mentioned, so for the relays, what you would do is maybe you set it when the battery's down to 20%, you program it to set off this relay and that turns on the engine or turns on a generator. You can control external devices with those relays by programming it to set those off under certain conditions. And then you can see here on the front we have the indicator lights for the Bluetooth and the Wi-Fi, and that's going to tell you what those signals are doing there. And then let's flip it around and look at the top. So this first input here, let me show you one more thing. This SD card, you can have it store data with a miniature SD or micro SD, and you can take that out and view it on a computer or elsewhere. And that actually leads to this other input here on the top. This is where you would connect an Ethernet cord, and you could actually connect the Cerbo GX directly to a computer. And then here at the bottom, these are also going to take an 8-pin RJ45 connector. It's basically like the Ethernet connector there. But we have VE bus here. So this is where our shore power, our inverter charger is going to plug in so we can monitor our shore power. These 2 here are VE CAN. So that's a different network protocol that some of the Victron devices use. And then here we have BMS CAN there at the end, also another protocol. So you may not use all of these, but they're available if you use a particular device from Victron that needs that type of plug. You've got it available, but you're only going to use a few of these. You're not going to use all of these plugs, but they're available to network anything you could possibly have to this device. Now if we come up here to these white inputs here, these are VE Direct, and we are going to use those today. So the first one is going to be our battery monitor. The second one is going to be our solar charge controller, and then that last one will have a spare. The HDMI here is going to be for our GX Touch 50 screen, and this first USB port is going to be the power for that screen. So the screen will actually have two little cords that'll plug in there, and then we've got two spare USBs for various Victron devices that use a USB input. So that is the Cerbo GX. I should mention here, these terminators, they go in the VE CAN ports. So basically this type of setup, the devices are daisy chained, and the end device you have to put in a terminator. So it basically allows the signal to go down to the end and kind of loop back. So that is what those are for. You probably won't use those for most installations, but they are included with the device. So let's take a look at the touch screen now. So we've got the GX Touch 50, and you can see the HDMI and the USB connector that I mentioned. They're going to go into the same line here. And as far as what's in the box, we have this mounting plate. So we've got a surface mounting plate with some hardware. So you're basically going to mount this plate with the included hardware and snap the screen into there. Or you can also, if you want to do an inset into your cabinet, you can carve in and set the screen in that. But that's what's included with the GX Touch 50. At this point, let's install the touchscreen and the Cerbo GX into our power system, fire it up, and take a look. All right, we've got the Cerbo GX wired into a system. I know there's a lot going on here, but I'm going to break it down and show you those four components that I mentioned: shore power, solar power, a battery monitor, and that water tank. So here is the Cerbo GX to start out. So all the communication wires are coming in here, mostly in the top. And we've got our GX Touch 50 screen there as well. That actually goes around the wood and plugs into the top as well. Let's start out with the shore power and take a look. So we've got a multi-plus inverter charger, and you can see the white power cord coming in through the breaker. That's from the wall outlet, so that's our connection to the power grid here. And you can see down below we've got a red and a black running down to system positive and negative and connecting to the battery. Let me go ahead and turn on our battery switch, and that'll fire these up. So the shore power is going to be connected with a UTP cable. It's going to be plugged into a VE bus port in the multi-plus, and then it's going to come over here and plug into the VE bus port on the top of the Cerbo GX. So that's that connection. Next up, we have solar power. So we've got a solar charge controller, and you can see the little VE direct cord going into the bottom, and I've got that looped around, and then it's going to come into the top here in the VE direct port on the Cerbo GX. So pretty straightforward. And then as far as the battery monitor, we have a shunt here. This is part of the BMV 712 battery monitor, and we've got a little communication cable that runs down, and that's going to connect to the screen. You can see that's powered up there, and then in the back of the screen there's a port for a VE direct cable as well, and I just ran that cable to the top of the Cerbo GX. You can see the machine kind of booting up there. This is the main screen. We'll get into that in just a second. Let's talk about our hardwired connections, and then we'll kind of zoom in on the screen and see what we can do with that. But that is the battery monitor. And then lastly, you can see we have these blue and yellow wires for the water tank. So typically the signal wire for the water tank would be black, but I made it yellow so you could kind of see it amongst all these other wires. But let's take a look at the water tank. We've got a 9-gallon Volterra tank, and the silver thing in the middle is our tank sending unit. Let me show you a quick clip of what that actually looks like on the inside. So you can see it has a floating device that goes down the sending unit. And basically as that floater moves, the resistance that gets sent back to the Cerbo GX changes. And so we're using a sending unit that's based on the US standard of 240 ohms when the tank is empty. And then when that floater gets to the top, it changes to 33 ohms of resistance. And there's steps all the way down the sending unit. So basically it allows, as the resistance changes, it allows the Cerbo GX to see or tell how much water is in that tank. And you're able to program it and tell it It's a freshwater tank. It's 9 gallons. We use the US sending unit instead of the European sending unit. So you can kind of customize the parameters and zero in on the particular situation and tank size that you have. But that is the overview of the setup. Lastly, we have that 12-volt cord here to power up the unit. And that's it in a nutshell. I know there's a lot going on here. Hopefully that clarified it a little bit. You may not know every last wire, but those are mainly the 4 components that I wanted to discuss. And of course, we have a 5th component, our battery here. But at this point, let's go ahead and zoom in on the screen and run some tests and see what we have. So here we are at the Cerbo GX screen. We've got shore power over here. We've got the inverter charger there. You can see that it says off. We've got AC loads, anything that the inverter charger is powering, such as an air conditioner or a toaster or a stove. That's going to show up there and tell us how many watts those are pulling. Here we have our PV charger, so that's going to tell us how many watts of solar are coming in. Bottom left, we have our numbers from our battery monitor imported here. So our battery's at 99% and we have 7 watts being pulled out of the battery. I can tell you that's for this screen itself. So you can see your entire electrical system here, but I wanted to show you another thing. If you go to menu, we can actually control your items. So we've got the 4 items there. If I click on the inverter charger, I can go to the switch and remotely turn that on. You may have heard it click just now, but if we go back out, you'll see this. It's going to turn on to an inverter, and it'll detect that we have shore power. So you can see that's going to crank up there. The charger has gone into bulk mode, and it's just going to immediately start charging the battery. And it's really neat because you can see the animation. You can see that power flow from the power grid through the inverter charger and over to the battery. And then I have a toaster connected to the inverter charger output. So let's go ahead and turn that on. You'll see the AC loads jump up to about 800. Shore power has also jumped because it's powering the battery charger as well as the toaster simultaneously. And then if we stop the toaster, you'll see this drop down and it continues to charge the battery. So that is the power of the Cerbo GX screen. You can really see everything all at once there. And if we go over, we've got the water tank shown on a separate screen. So this will show up to 4 tanks right out of the box. And this is the water tank. I told it that we have a 9-gallon tank, and it's currently reading it as full. If I rotate the tank where the floater goes to the bottom, it will take a new reading. So that is the tank screen. We have one other screen here that shows a lot of the same information. It's just not as aesthetically pleasing, in my opinion. It's pretty much the same information as the main screen here. But that is an overview. Of course, there's a lot more that you can do if you get into the settings and play around here. There's quite a bit that you can set up, but that is just kind of an overview. At this point, let me connect with my smartphone and we'll import this screen onto the phone. To monitor and control things from your phone or tablet, what you want to do is go to the Victron Connect app, and it's going to pull up all of your Bluetooth devices. We'll click on the Cerbo GX. And down at the bottom here it says Remote Console. It's going to ask us to rotate our screen, and that is an exact replica of the screen here. We can pull up the menu and turn things on. So let's go in and turn on the inverter charger. So this should look pretty familiar. You can hear it click on, and then we'll go back out to the main screen. You'll see it initialize there. So these are an exact mirror of each other. And just to show that we're not pulling from the actual screen, I'm going to unplug power here. and we still have full functionality. So is the screen more convenient? Probably, but you can do everything you can from the screen with your phone or tablet using the Victron Connect app. And just to show you, we'll go back in and turn the inverter charger off. You can hear it click off. It may be a little bit more convenient if you have a larger tablet instead of the smartphone, but I just wanted to show you that capability. I want to show you one more thing. Let's go back into the Victron Connect app. Reconnect. VRM online portal here at the bottom. This is the remote portal where you can check on your system from anywhere in the world. So you're going to click on that, and you can log into that portal. And basically the Cerbo GX is currently connected to Wi-Fi, so it's uploading its data to the portal, and I've set that up. But this is where you would go if you're out of the country or 3 states away. You can check on your Cerbo GX and see what your system's doing in real time. See how much solar power is coming in, what your battery charge is, how much water's in your water tank, etc. You can see all that remotely. So that's my review of the Cerbo GX and the GX Touch 50. I hope that was helpful for you. If you want even more tips on solar power, shore power, and your overall van electrical system, you got to grab a copy of my Ultimate Van Power Cheat Sheet. Just go to rosslukeman.com/vanpower or click the link below. So thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you next week.